50 years ago, as a part of NATO Exercise Strong Express, 5 Marines died in a helicopter crash on the north-facing side of a Norwegian mountain on the island of Grutia, 200 miles above the Arctic Circle. One of those men was my father, First Lieutenant Henry Pilger. The time has finally come to tell his story.
We just got a message that the ground relay site, they heard the helicopter, they heard it coming up, it was getting closer, closer, and closer, and then we lost it, and then they reported a flash.
On the northern shore of Norway, 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, there is a small town called Harstad. Harstad may technically be Arctic, but it's hardly frozen tundra. It's a small town that feels a lot like New England, with lawyers and fishermen and doctors. And in the fall of 1993, there lived a doctor named Hans Krogstad.
My name is Hans Krogstad. I live in a small town called Harstad. The population of Harstad is about 27,000 people. But it's a modern town and we have everything we need here. In 1993, I was working as head of the department in obstetrics and gynecology at this hospital, you know, making sure that babies came out in best possible health. And we bought a small summer house on Gryta on the island. Gryta, it means, it derived from the word grot, which means stone. So Grytøya, øy is an island. So Gryta literally is the stony island. And when you have a look, you can see enough stones.
Grytøya is a very mountainous island, a very harsh island. The mountains in Grytøya, they're not just hills you walk up on. You have to be so careful. The climate is harsh. It's fascinating. Nature is powerful. You have to adapt to nature. You can't kind of do what you want to do. You have to be careful. Like we went up on the mountain yesterday and it's a long trek. What was good about yesterday was that the weather was good because the weather decides everything up here. My wife is Irish and she would love to have a little cottage. So we found a small little farm that was abandoned, you know, and were up for sale. So we bought that little house, and we've done it up over the years, you know. There's my little summer house there, and a little red barn. We can pull in just around the bend here. So when we came here, you know, this was overgrown, you know, and the house was derelict then.
Right.
So my wife, as I told you, she wanted to have a little cabin. So I said, "Are you sure you want to buy this?" "Yes, because this place has got potential." I said, "Okay, let's buy it then." And yeah, so this is the. We can just have a quick look if you. Here's the key hidden. Don't tell anybody. No. I'd worked out there as a public health nurse, and I thought this reminds me of the west coast of Ireland, so I thought
I saw sheep on the roads and I thought this could be a nice place. And then we found the house and it was literally a dump. The boys said to me, they just held it out, said, we're not going in there. And so we've tried to keep the house as it was. And as I work full time, we spend as much time as we can out there, but the boys use it. They go hunting and now they've bought their own houses out there. It's a place that means a lot to us.
I discovered that the island was a nice place to go hunting because I love hunting. So every year I did several hunting trips on the mountain because the hunting season starts on the 1st of October. So it's late autumn. So when you're up there in the mountains, you have to be prepared for all kinds of conditions. It could be a blizzard or it could be sunshine and fantastic. But we're used to be out in nature. We know how to dress and how to keep warm and what food to bring with us. So this is part of what we do up here, In the freezer we have a black grouse. That's a female black grouse and that's the male black grouse. He has a red dot over his eye. And he's black and she is kind of checkered. Yes. So we keep them here in the freezer and then we have a big party with the grouse. Where the boys make the food and the wives are invited to join us, in their fineries. So we make all the food and the preparation. We do that as a tradition every autumn. So this kind of bird is what made me go up to the mountain to hunt for this. There's a mountain called the Top Mountain there. And we usually walk up those hills and we up on the top of the mountain and we hunt there. And the tallest mountain on the Grüta is you see it covered with fog, on the right hand side. There's a valley going up. We can go up there to the starting point and you'll see the mountains from there.
On the morning of October 1st, 1993, before the sun was up, Hans woke up, ate breakfast, and set out on foot, alone, to climb the mountain.
Yeah, that day I was in my summer house. I had a nice, healthy breakfast, double egg and bacon to last me until noon. So I walked up to that mountain, because it takes about 3 hours to walk from where you park your car and up to the Jamfjellet. And I was walking up there and looking for grouse, and then I came to a spot in the mountain where you have to cross down a hillside to get down to some plains where there usually are grouse. But when you're out hunting, you always look very carefully. You have to look see are there any grouse, and you also have to look where you step because there are stones and scree, and so you have to be alert. And then suddenly I saw this. I saw this debris there. Some fragments of composite sandwich and polyester and aluminium, and so I thought, is this a rocket who fell down from the Space Research Center outside? But then I discovered the glove. So I have the glove here, and there are also some fragments. This is composite. This is the glove. You can see barely see the fingers, and you can also see that it has been a fire. And then I looked down near where I found the glove, and I saw this ring between two stones. And it was there, a golden ring in mint condition, no erosion, and with a nice blue sapphire. And I picked up the ring and I could read United States Naval Academy. And I looked inside and I could see the inscription, Henry N. Pilger. And at that moment, I realized that I have to return this ring to the family.
I'm David Neese. I am a childhood friend of Rick Pilger, mostly high school and college. He was a good friend. Well, it was like, you know, he had clear eyes, he was funny, he was smart, he wasn't shy. He was very open and very friendly, and he made you like him. You know, and that was the first that I really got to know Rick. I think it was just a general demeanor. It was like he was not like the rest of the kids. He was clearly a cut above. But what happened was Rick became more obvious to me and my other friends all the time. You know, he was suddenly running for vice president of the class, or he was running for this office, and he was doing this. And then we were building committees together, and we were accomplishing things, and you know, all that stuff that kids do in school.
Oh, this is a big string here. This is the only picture that I've seen where he's holding me. Seemed to save everything. Always was wanting to be in the military. When he was 15 years old, he made this 50-mile trek in a blizzard to bring awareness to some cause, I'm sure. But they accomplished it. As I've read through his yearbooks and letters, and just the words people said to him were just a very, very sweet, very approachable and likable person, helpful, and a leader. So he did carry that through his entire life, although short. I don't think that I've ever known a person to have known their path at such a young age. These archival pieces can clearly show that. He was an excellent, he was just an excellent person. In all, there were 5 letters and/or correspondence from Robert F. Kennedy to my father. This says, I was pleased to learn of your selection for appointment to the United States Naval Academy. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on your fine achievement and wish you every success in your new career. He wanted to go to the Naval Academy. He wanted to go to any academy. And he got into all the academies. And that's in here. He chose the Naval Academy because he wanted to fly. And what's funny is he chose the Naval Academy because he wanted to fly, but he didn't know how to swim. But he learned to swim.
consequently, I never knew how much he wanted to go there. I mean, I remember when he did finally announce it, I said, "Are you out of your mind? What do you want to do that for?" You know, and he just sort of thought a career in the military was the greatest thing. And I do not know where that came from. I mean, maybe it was from his parents, but it wasn't a time, I mean, it was the beginning of when we were all dodging the draft, you know, and knowing if you didn't go to college, you were going to get drafted and you were going to go to Vietnam and you were going to die. You know, that was the whole thing in my senior year in high school. We were all worrying about the draft and what your number was going to be for the, for the draft. You know, and some kids went to college for the purpose of avoiding the draft, you know. But I think he felt he had a calling for this. He felt he just wanted to get right in there.
While there, he met a young woman named Debbie Wadsworth.
Yes, Debbie. Debbie. So Debbie was my mother, and she was the apple of everybody's eye. She was a beautiful woman, a very talented woman, beautiful artist. She could create beautiful things. And that certainly seemed to be her reputation. Well, I'm pretty sure how my parents met was a blind date. And I'm quite certain my Aunt Mary Lou was involved in that blind date.
We were a Navy family. I'm second oldest, youngest daughter, 2 girls, 3 boys. Deb is a year older, Abby's mom. Debbie was iconic to me. She was my older sister. And she was beautiful, blonde, green eyes. And here I am, bald until I was 2, with brown eyes. And so she was iconic to me because she was so beautiful and so different from me. And yet my mother dressed us as twins, and I can't tell you how old we were. We did double date some. So lo and behold, Deb went with me. We had a lot of fun, and we went out on a date, and Deb met Rick. As most people were when they met Deb, he was awestruck because she was beautiful, blonde, tall. She was 3 inches taller than me, and it was all in her neck. And he was a very good-looking, Northern Italian, blonde, green-eyed man. So you can imagine how they looked together. I mean, I hope you've seen wedding pictures because they were a beautiful couple. I think he kept her glove. He took something of hers so that he could, get in touch again without being obvious. And that was the beginning of their love affair. The wedding was very formal. Lots of bridesmaids, cousins, friends, very frou-frou, really nice. My parents did a beautiful job, and it was not at Annapolis, not at the Academy, but there were still, Rick's honor guard was there with the swords and the white uniforms, and very beautiful pictures and very heartfelt ceremony, and everybody was just thrilled with this wedding. They had a duty station near Washington for some reason, I don't know why. And then they moved to Pensacola for flight school. He was a Marine helicopter pilot. He was iconic. His reputation was, he was a fine leader, he was a fair leader, a phenomenal first-classman to have. You wanted to be like him, you wanted to be him. He was very smart. They went to Pensacola, and that's where Abby was born. And it was very hard on Debbie. She had one friend that helped her, but Rick was really busy, and He was looking to be a father later, and Debbie was looking to be a mother sooner. They moved to North Carolina, to his duty station, got a house, got a dog, and Rick was sent on this carrier quals opportunity, which was a big deal.
Rick's orders were not to go to Vietnam, but to board a massive aircraft carrier departing North Carolina in September 1972. His ship was the USS Incheon. As a trained helicopter pilot, he had been selected for a secret NATO training operation in the North Atlantic called Exercise Strong Express.
It was part of the Northern European Defense Operational Plan. And there is, I know people say, well, geez, you have no plans. Let me tell you, when there's no wars going on, the only thing service people do are make plans for what could be. And one of the plans is securing operations in the Northern European area near the Arctic. And part of that was a small Marine force that would support Norwegians, Swedes in that area. So that NATO exercise, just like they do other exercises, it's just so if you ever have to work with a foreign country, it's not so foreign.
My name is Rocky Shaw, Sergeant United States Marine Corps, and I was on the USS Incheon with Lieutenant Pilger. Well, NATO came about, North Atlantic Treaty Organization came about after World War II. All these European countries that after the war, with Germany, etc., they wanted to unite to protect themselves from whatever country that wanted to invade them. So they joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They offloaded us on the 7th of September, and I happened to be in an advance party. The war games didn't start actually until 14th September. And what I mean by war games is, what we do, we go and technically there's a team A or a team B or a team green and a team blue. And one's the enemy that's attacking them and the others are defending the country. And so different organizations, like I said, I know we had the Italians, French, England obviously, Britain and everything, and of course in Norway. Well, Russia at that time, USSR, was just a little over 100 miles, 200 miles I believe it was, from Norway. So I mean, obviously during the Cold War, you had to prepare for whatever. And we see that today,
The exercise has been a brief but eventful interlude in a demanding schedule.
After an 8-day crossing of the Atlantic, the Incheon dropped anchor in the north of Norway, just above the Arctic Circle. Rick's role in the exercise was to fly mission after mission off the deck of the Incheon into mainland Norway. His flight patterns would take him time and time again over the stony island of Grutia.
What we learned was that two things happened very quickly over there. Weather changed very quickly, and winds changed very quickly. And winds could go from 20 to 80 mile an hour flying in the hills. And those were some of our biggest concerns landing. Helicopters always got to land into the wind. Anytime you come out of the wind, airplanes would say the same thing. But really for helicopters, which are much lighter, you can really get blown around when you're landing. The weather, though, could sneak up on you because it could build in a half an hour to an hour, and all of a sudden, the place where you thought you could land, all of a sudden you can't even see it. It wasn't a weather that built from the bottom up as much as it just came down. The winds had been reported between 60, 70, 80 mile an hour. And when you look at where he came from, if he was going up the mountain this way, and this essentially is what I wrote in the report, and it appears that he hit over here, still in clouds. But if the wind was 60 or 70 miles an hour this way, what pilots are taught to do is make an immediate 180 turn to go back to where you last could see. So he probably would try and do a pedal turn to come down right where he was. But if he got hit with a 60 or 70 mile an hour wind, this is where he ends up. And then the next thing I remember is getting called into the squadron CO or XO's office just saying, we just got a message that the ground relay site, they heard the helicopter, they heard it coming up, it was getting closer and closer and closer, and then we lost it. And then they reported the flash. Now that's all we know. We're back on the ship. I mean, that's so little information, that's almost next to nothing. The squadron CO said, okay, I need some people to get up there as close as can. And I got tapped, obviously as the senior Huey guy, you know, and I got to the site and evaluated the site and the personnel that I could locate. But it was a catastrophic site where you just understood what the reality was, and you could tell. One body was still in the aircraft. That was the one I remember, and that was Rodriguez. The cabin was, of course, all destroyed in the initial impact. So whatever happened, I mean, it was split second. Split second.
September of 1972. I was coming from Norfolk, where my husband and I lived, to Farmington to have an operation. And I remember my mother telling me, I went in the hospital and my mother said, I'll be there when you wake up. When I woke up in the hospital, Debbie was on my right and Dad was on my left. And my mother wasn't anywhere to be seen. And Debbie was kind of woozy, which I didn't understand. So Dad said, we came because we wanted to talk to you ourselves. I said, talk to me about what? Rick was killed.
When we got back to Farmington, my mother built us a home. It was next to my grandparents. It was lovely. It was a little log cabin up in the woods. I think she was trying to definitely find her way. She was a young woman with a child and a widow. And how is that even possible? How is that fathomable? How do you deal with that? And so I think she knew she had a talent in art, and she educated herself in hair and cosmetology, and she was busy. She was busy doing that. She had a very successful salon, a few of them. And so I was sort of left with my grandparents, who I adored. I just adored them. And that's okay. That's an okay part of my story. I got to do so many things because of that. But again, I was always with my grandparents. I wasn't with my mother. I wasn't with my parents.
Abby called her mother Deb in the house because Mom was Mom and Dad was Dad and her mother was Deb. So that tells a lot, right? My parents really raised Abby and Debbie let them. Debbie fell back into daughterhood and she became a student. She went to school, hairdressing school, and tried to wake herself up again, to not be a widow, but to be a mother and a student. And so every important thing that ever happened to Abigail came through my parents and not her mother. She felt like a ghost, and Deb, didn't make it better.
She did just terrible things, psyche-wise to my sisters, psyche-wise to everybody. the whole thing just falls apart. My grandmother dies and my mother stops talking to everybody. She cuts everybody off. And I never talked to her again. She just threw us all away. So I got this ring when I was maybe 16 years old. It was a replica of my father's Naval Academy ring. It was a little bit different, but it did have that star sapphire and it was encrusted in diamonds. It was beautiful. But the inscription was the same, except for on the inside it said, Deborah Pilger. I wore this ring every day, and I was wearing it on a particular day while I was swimming in Maui, and I lost it. I came up out of the water with my hands, and it flew right off my hand, and I felt it. I feel like I can envision it. It was almost slow motion, me just reaching for that ring in the air, and of course it went right down into the water, and I spent some time looking for it, just crushed. I just remember feeling, this pit in my stomach. When I finally gave up looking for it, I kind of made this proclamation that the ring would come back to me at some point, and I kind of just felt that. I have no idea why, I just did, and I said that out loud, and sure enough, it did.
In 1993, with Abby and Debbie's relationship at nadir, a package arrived from Norway. It was Rick's Annapolis ring.
So I got home one afternoon, and as I recall walking into the hallway and into the kitchen, the package was sitting there on this desk, and the desk had this red velvet lining on it with a piece of glass, and so this brown piece of envelope kind of stood out on it. And I said, "What is this?" And my mother said, "This came for you. It's your father's Naval Academy ring." I just recall looking at her and thinking, is this really happening? Of course, very anxious to get it out of there and look at it, and it's not broken, it was in near perfect condition, as you've seen. But there was no fanfare about it. This is a monumental gift. This is an incredible package to receive 22 years later. How are we not celebrating this? I had this trunk in my room, and I think I remember bringing it up there, and I had a small box of just his stuff at that time. And I feel like I just put it in that box, yeah. My box grew over time, but at that time I just had a small box of things. And it just sat in there. I don't know my father. I mean, is this cool? Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, I really lackluster. Not equipped to deal with it, period.
So I've been there several times after that, and passing up in the mountains, I would naturally remember the crash site and Henry and Pilger. And I would think, what happened to that ring? So I was thinking maybe when I was in Oslo occasionally, I would think maybe I should pop into the American embassy and ask them what happened to that ring, because it would be a shame if that ring was in a drawer in a desk in the American embassy. Yeah, so I called last year. I called the embassy, and I came to the switchboard, and I explained that I'm trying to find out what happened to a ring that I sent them in '93, and could you please set me over to the naval attaché at the embassy? I didn't expect to Commander Nadolski, but but some other guy, because I know that they have American personnel at the American embassy there. And the operator said, well, I think it will be difficult. And he said, hang on, okay. So I was sitting there, you know the feeling when you sit there and nothing happens, you know. You can hear some pause music or whatever, you know. In the end, you said, you know, I couldn't be bothered. So I just put down the phone, you know. And then I was on my own. So I said, what will I do now?
I'm 49 years old, and I'm in the middle of COVID, and I'm sort of taking stock in my life. And I feel like drawn or compelled to take out this memory box at this particular evening, to sort of start that process of turning 50. And even though it's some months away, I'm compelled to sort of look through my life, see where I've been, see who I was, who I am now, and where I want to go in the future, who I want to be in the future.
Something was definitely driving Abby to go on this journey at the time that she could go on the journey. You know, if this would have happened 10 years ago in the chaos of raising kids, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. So she was at a point in her life where she could pay some attention to her father. And the more she opened up that box and dug into it, the more she learned about him, as I did, and learned what a great man he was.
And so as I'm going through this memory box, the brown envelope is in there with the ring. And I hadn't taken it out in a while, and so I proceeded to do that. And I took out the ring, and I sort of look at it for a long while, and I'm still just in awe that it sat up there for so long in these elements, that it could come back and be virtually perfect. I mean, with the smallest inclusions. I'm feeling this, like, I can't believe it. So then I take out the letters that are in the envelope as well, and I reread them, and it hits me at that moment that this is the time to find Hans and to finally say thank you.
In September 2022, Abby traveled 5,035 miles from San Diego to Harstad, Norway, to meet Dr. Hans Krogstad for the first time.
Hello, Abby.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Can you believe this? Can you believe
Incredible.
this? Oh my gosh!
It's so nice to see you. It's so nice to see you.
It's so
I've
nice
been waiting for this moment.
for 27 years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Yeah, yeah,
exciting!
yeah.
It's so exciting!
You're welcome to come
All
into
right.
my house.
I love it. Thank you so much.
So most of what you see on the other side of the sea is
Over this last year of really being in the thick of this story, I'm pretty sure I've thought about this moment 1,000 times, and how he would be. He was lovely. Hans immediately was gracious and funny, very easy to talk to, and fatherly. I think we should cheers, because this is unbelievable. What?
Yeah.
It's just so comfortable with you. It's amazing.
So I wasn't sure that you would be able to to make this long journey, but I'm so excited to see that
I
you
know.
come all this way.
I find it amazing that both you and I were looking for each other at the same time, unbeknownst to each other.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and the timeline is amazing. I mean, the accident happened in 1972, and I was hunting up on the mountain in 1993 when I discovered the ring and picked it up. Yeah, so every year I would go onto the mountain and I would be reminded of what happened. So I never forgot it.
I have it right here.
You have it?
I brought it, of course.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Would you like to see it?
Yeah, and when I found it, it was in mint condition, you know.
For sure.
United States Naval Academy. And then I turned the ring, and lo and behold, Henry N. Pilger. It's so, I get emotional.
Yes, of
Seeing the
course,
ring, yeah,
of course.
yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. So I'm so glad you have the ring now.
I am too.
Yeah, and it's been an incredible journey for that ring.
On September 23rd, 2022, 50 years to the day after the fatal crash that claimed the life of her father, Abigail Wadsworth Pilger Barretto climbed the mountain on the island of Grutia. Accompanied by family, friends, Marines, and Norwegian coastal rangers, she dedicated a memorial to the 5 fallen soldiers. Their names are First Lieutenant Gerald Merklinger, Lance Corporal Pete Rodriguez, Lieutenant Colonel James Skinner, Captain Raymond Reisner, and First Lieutenant Henry N. Pilger.
So it started off meeting at the base of the mountain and preparing to make this hike, which we knew was going to be hard. I don't think we had any idea how hard it was going to be. Of course, the Norwegians, they went up the mountain like it was no problem. Abby, same thing. There was no stopping her. I mean, she was on a mission. Well, when I first got up to the top of the mountain, there were about 23, 24 people, I believe. There were about 12, I think, Norwegian coastal Marines, including a trumpet player, a flute player, flag bearers, our group that came up. Obviously, Hans, who found the ring, was there, and Slick Cats was there, and then the ceremony began.
The dedication to the remembrance of this crew and their passengers. Words can't express how I feel. The ring itself, some might say it's a typical school ring. Not so. Any service academy ring. That's the commitment in itself. That actually was, to me, was a catalyst that brought us all here. Doctor finding the ring, the name inscribed, the actions he took through the embassy, following up, trying to track down, return it to the family, Abby's search. The importance of the ring, as I said, was a catalyst in bringing them all together and coming to this day.
The main purpose with this ceremony is to honor those who paid the ultimate price for freedom.
And I'm so glad that the coastal rangers, you know, these tough soldiers, they made a speech and explained how grateful they were for what the Americans have done and risked their lives in that exercise.
The United States and Norway has a strong and long-lasting relationship. Our relationship is still very relevant and more important than in a long time. The Norwegian coastal ranger has also suffered a great loss to Grytøya. During the winter of 2019, Torstein Hagen was taken by a huge avalanche and lost his life. He was only 23 years old. The environment is demanding and harsh. Yet our losses and potential consequences, we still train and work hard in order to be better than today. As nation, together as allies. Abigail, where her father and his crew gave the biggest sacrifice to secure our freedom. We honor the fallen, but we also honor the families of those who fall.
My older brother sent me the story from on the news of the magic ring and how this man had found it. But he said this lady's father was in the same accident that killed Daddy. I think it's just amazing. It could have, I mean, the ring would have been buried in snow, rocks, and the fact that nobody ever found it. It's fate. It was meant to be found. And for him to go to the lengths he went to find the owner and the family of the owner, what a human being. Just only good, decent, kind people would do that. I can feel my father's presence in this chapter of the story, and this has been incredibly comforting to me to have so many people that haven't forgotten.
And that was one thing that struck me very solidly, was that I would never forget them. That I'd be one that years later would still remember that they were doing their duty, a dangerous duty, and lost their lives. And I'd like to tell those two young ladies, Linda and Abby, that their fathers would be definitely proud of them. They've done great. They'd be very proud of them.
50 years ago, 5 men, 5 Marines, lost their lives here. And today, they are memorialized, and they will never be forgotten. To the Norwegians who come here today, shows the friendship between America and Norway. And I'm quite proud of that. I'm quite proud of the dedication you have shown, and I'm so appreciative. You are no longer friends, you are family. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You were talking about closure a while ago. I don't feel that this is closure. I feel this is more of an opening. This little ring has resulted in meeting lots of new people. It's not just a story, it's kind of history. I don't feel it's closure, because closure would be like putting a lid on it. And that's just like putting it into a drawer. And I think the fact that there is now a kind of a plaquette on that big boulder, people will search for that when they're walking, so it will not only be commemorated the day of the ceremony, but I'm sure other people will stop, read the plaquette, think about what's happened, and there won't be official ceremonies, but very small, private, little ceremonies that people will have when they stop and think about the accident. And I'll probably go up there again.
So I have an incredible relationship with my father. I feel like I know him so well, yet I've never met him. And the ring is like a beacon. It's been shouting for a long time.
Hans changed my life. And I don't think he understands just how much he did. It took some time, but that time was needed. I feel like we've known each other forever. And in a way we have. We've been connected by this ring.
I was just a child, I could not understand. They say the sky was your calling, but I never thought it'd take you away. Oh, a daughter of a hero, in uniform you stood so strong. Wings of courage, weathered and worn, you flew for freedom. But the skies took you that fateful night. You wore the flag upon your shoulder, a hero flying strong and free. You gave it all for those who loved you, now you live in history. Ooh, you soared through the sky, fearless and true, a soldier who fought for the red, white and blue. Oh, you gave your life so others could live, a heart so strong with all you could give. Now I wear your ring, a piece of you near, a symbol of love that time won't clear. They gave me your ring, said he was brave, a soldier, a pilot, a life you gave. I hold it close, I wear it tight, a piece of you still shining bright. In me every day. You wore the flag upon your shoulders, a hero flying strong and free. You gave it all for those who loved you, now you live in history. Oh, you soared through the sky, fearless and true, a soldier who fought for the red, white and blue. Oh, you gave your life so others could live, a heart so strong with all you could give. Now I wear your ring, a piece of you near, a symbol of love that time won't clear. On a mountaintop, carved in stone, your name, your rank, but you're not gone. The wind still whispers, soft and low, I'm with you always, just let me go. Oh, but how can I, when I still see the hero, the father you were to me? I close my eyes, and there you stand. Oh, you're guiding me gently with steady hands. You soared through the sky, fearless and true, a soldier who fought for the red, white and blue. You gave your life so others could live, a heart so strong with all you could give. Now I wear your ring, a piece of you near, a symbol of love that time won't clear. They say the sky was your calling, but I never thought it'd take you away. Yet somehow I know you're still near, a hero's love will never fade.